After graduating, because I got married about 3 months after graduating, I stayed in Dunedin because my husband was a student, and I worked at Dunedin Hospital. My first 6 months I was in general outpatients, where we did a whole lot of ultraviolet. We did lots of Thoractin for psoriasis. We did a lot of ultraviolet for acne, and we did Chromia for varicose ulcers. We did Chromia for all sorts of hand injuries. One of the commonest injuries we had that we used the Chromia for was grease gun injuries, where men who were working with grease guns shot the grease into their hand, and of course made one hell of a mess, and they got very, very infected, and they had to be opened up, and they were very slow to heal. They were usually infected, and we did a lot of Chromia work with that, with the various parts of the Chromia. I remember one of the Chromia heads was a head of about 3 inches long. When you put it into a wound and to help the healing, or kill the bugs and help the healing. And then we do, of course, exercises with these patients, these hand patients, because they had these big swollen hands with nasty injuries, and they had become infected because they were men who were working with dirty things, grease, and or cut themselves with nasty implements that they've been using in a factory or something like that. Remember having to test for your acne patients and for your psoriasis patients what their tolerance of ultraviolet would be, where you would take a piece of green sterile cloth, and cut a square, triangle and a circle, and then do your skin testing to see how much ultraviolet radiation they could take. And then you would give them your acne patients would try to give them a peeling dose, an E3 is it? I can't remember. An E3, I haven't done ultraviolet for so long. And the psoriasis patients, they were in the Thoractin, where they went into the tube and to try and improve the quality or the healing of their psoriasis. Of course, one of the side things about working in general outpatients is other staff would come along and would want to have a quick dose of ultraviolet also to get a tan in preparation for the summer, given that Dunedin's summer is somewhat limited and the opportunity to be out in the sun was somewhat limited in Dunedin. So that for my first 6 months I was in general outpatients, and then the second 6 months I was over in the wards. I was given the responsibility of it was a men's ward, where they did mainly urinary, what is it called? Urinary, when they did, what are those urinary? Change urethral resections and the likes. I do recall many of these men were chronic, they were smokers and chronic bronchitis, and had the most ghastly chests, and they had these huge incisions, and having to do the cough and spit routine with them, and often right through day and night. We would often provide 4-hourly treatment throughout the night as well, because they had such terrible chests, these men. Of course, it was all due to smoking, and they just kept on smoking, which wasn't much fun. I also, as part of working in the hospital, I also worked in the neurosurgical unit. One of the strong memories I have there is of a gentleman who had a spinal fusion in his neck, a cervical fusion in his neck, and he was put into a plaster jacket. As a physio, one of the things I was asked to do was to help get that, put the plaster jacket on. And then, of course, he was a smoker and had chronic bronchitis, and I can remember having to do breathing exercises with him and getting him to clear his chest, and he had horrible green sputum, but he was very incapacitated in his spinal jacket, and he coughed at one stage, and it came all over my face, and it wasn't very nice. He was embarrassed, and of course I was very embarrassed and feeling a bit yucky too, this green horrible spit, because he had plenty of it. In those days when we did chest physiotherapy, we had these cardboard cartons that were set in stainless steel mugs, and the cardboard cartons had measuring parts inside these, and the nurses were meant to do sputum rounds twice a day. But sometimes you would come across these revolting sputum cartons, and you'd lift the lid and you'd just get bowled over by the smell of them. And I remember having to change it quite often, because I just could not stand the smell of these revolting things. And sometimes there would be half a cup or more sputum in these revolting sputum mugs, cartons.